it comes to all these opportunities that I've mentioned that are available to you through art, there are some foundational things that need to be laid first before you can really get the most of all those opportunities. So I'm going to go through 3 of those things in this workshop. And the very first one is just your painting practice in general. Do you know what to do, how to do it? What are the things that you need to know as an artist to make better art? So if you're here, you're probably already painting in some capacity. And I'm just going to assume that you already know most of the basics when it comes to acrylic painting. You know you have to have acrylic paint, you need brushes or a palette knife, a surface of some sort, whether it is a sketchbook or canvas or wood or whatever it is that you're painting on. You probably already know those things, so I'm not going to go through all of those details. And I'm also not going to tell you that I use this exact paintbrush in this number, this size, this exact color or whatever. And I'm going to get into some more of that information later on. But for right now, I just want you to know that you do not have to create art exactly the way that I do for your art to be good or even be great or better than what I make. When I say better, I don't want to polarize any of this, because art is subjective. You can create something that you think is amazing. I can create something that I think is amazing, and you may not like mine, and I may not like yours. And that's okay. That is the beauty of creating. You think about, we're going to get into style in the next video, but if you think about the way we dress, the way we decorate our homes, the way that our taste in food, it's all going to be different, and it's all, who cares? It's an opinion. So the purpose of creating art, in my opinion, is more than the end result, more than what it's going to look like when you're finished. You do want to make things that you like, of course. You do want to make things that you're proud of, but what you think is great and what I think is great may be 2 different things. So I want to just put that out there in the very beginning. And some of the things that I'm going to talk about in this workshop are probably going to be different from what you may have thought before or learned before or just accepted as the way that it is. So I want you to keep an open mind, and I don't want to lose you in thinking that there's no point to this, because there is a big point to it. But I will say this: when it comes to creating art, no matter what kind of art you're making, whether it's abstract, whether you're using different mediums, if it's realism, it doesn't really matter. One of the key things that I have learned myself that has helped me tremendously is value. So value is the lights and the darks. To put it simply, you've got to have some light, some dark, and some in between. So I'm going to give you a little demo. We're going to paint some flowers and I'm going to show you the difference that it makes when you begin to use value and use it correctly. And it doesn't always have to be black, white, gray. Some colors already have value. You can use those colors if you understand it, and you can see that this is a dark color and this is a light color. They may be 2 different colors, but they could work together to create something that gives you more dimension, more depth, and it just brings life to your paintings. So let's get started with that. Okay, this is a color wheel. If you don't have one of these, I would recommend that you grab one. You can get them just about anywhere that sells paint and craft supplies. But it has a value scale on it, and it's just basically white and then it moves all the way to black, which would be the darkest. But the scale goes 10 being the lightest to 1 being the darkest. So it's a little bit, in my head, it should be the other way around, that the 10 should be the darkest, but that's not the way it works. So it's called a gray scale or a value scale. So some colors are already dark. They already have a value scale of 1. Some colors have a value scale that's somewhere in the middle. And some of them have a scale that is light. So just for our own purpose for today, I'm going to show you a scale that I did using red. So this was quinacridone red, and this would be just the paint straight out of the tube. This is adding a little bit of white, a little more white, until I got down here. Now this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I didn't keep going all the way and make 10 swatches, but you get the idea. So when you are painting something, no matter what it is, especially I find this helpful with flowers. There's a little flower example that I used. I just used the red and the white. And when you are painting something, you can either add a little bit of white to it to change your value, or add a little bit of black to darken it to change the value, or you can get to a point where you are adding in other colors that will lighten or darken it. But that's not what our purpose is for right now. There's another one that I did. So I'm just going to give you an example of working on value and how it can help you tremendously. I'm going to use this little flower right here that's painted on top of this pumpkin that I just did recently. This is a zinnia, and if you can see, there are different petals, and those petals are different colors, but this whole flower was painted with one red, alizarin crimson, with a little bit of white added to it. But I got all this depth by using value. And I want you to look at this flower with your eyes squinted. So squint your eyes, like make little slits that you're looking through. I know that sounds silly, but I promise it's going to help. When you do that, you can see where the darks and the lights are, and it kind of blurs all of it together, but you're able to see that there is darkness and some darkness in here, and then there's a medium area, and then the lighter area is on top. So we're going to duplicate that little flower, and I'm going to show you what happens when you don't use enough value and what happens when you do. Grab some white. All right, so I've got a little bit of this alizarin crimson out, and I'm going to use a bigger brush. We're going to do a little bit of a bigger flower. So I just wet my brush. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to show you, this is the darkest value of this color. And then I'm going to add a little bit of white. I don't want to lighten it up too much. We've added a little white, and now we've got like a medium in between. And we're going to add even more white. And we'll have just a light pink. Okay. By the way, When you learn how to do this, you don't have to go to the craft store and buy 3 different bottles of paint to get 3 different values, a dark red, a medium red, and a light pink. You can just use this and some white and get your own color mix. Okay, your own values. So over here, let's do one. I'm gonna wash my brush. Let's do a flower that just doesn't really have the values in the right place or done the right way. So let's say I start with like this. And I keep working it and keep working on it and trying different things. And it just becomes one color because I'm just continually blending, putting down color. I may even try to go in and put in some darker ones. But the more I work on it, the worse it looks. And that is very common and something that happened to me when I first began painting. When I started to understand value, it helped me so much because it made me stop blending, stop putting it down over and over again. And so what I noticed was most things begin with the really dark values. We're going to start with that. And then they build and become lighter. So then we're going to have our medium value. And when we're using acrylic paint, it dries quickly. So you can layer using your acrylics better than you could if you were trying to use something like oils. But you also don't want to keep blending over and over. Just lay down a color and intentionally put it there. Don't keep working it and working it. And then you just add a little more white as you go. Let's add a little bit of some yellow in the center there. Now you can see there is a tremendous amount of depth in this flower compared to this. And as it dries, it's going to get a little bit darker. So what I found is as it begins to dry, you can continue to add a little bit more white. So you may just pick up pure white and add a tiny bit of that red to it, but this really makes it stand out when you add that extra little hint. So I save my whites for last, when I need to come back in there and really make some areas stand out. So I would say number one, this is the number one thing that I learned that has helped me to get past creating okay art, which there's nothing wrong with okay art. If it makes you happy, keep working. But this is one thing that has helped me to move past creating things that I wasn't really very happy with and learning to paint things that made me very excited because I could see this looks like what I wanted to paint. So when it comes to some of the problems that you face as an artist, I would say as a foundational way of creating with acrylic paint, you may be painting with another medium and that's fine too, but value is key. In my opinion, it is the most important part of what you need to practice even more than the actual drawing or composition. When you get your values in there and they're working right, it really doesn't matter what all those other elements end up looking like. So creating depth like this, see, this flower's done the same way. It started out darker and I built up those lighter parts. All of these are like that. This one's even darker down there in that center. When you get a good grip on value, it's going to help just to elevate your practice, whatever it may be, tremendously. Now, our next video is going to be about something a little bit different. And like I said, I am going through this workshop assuming that you already are painting, you already have some of these skills down, and you're ready to move to the next thing, what's going to push you to the next part. And so your practice as an artist in painting is your foundational level 1, but I would say our next video would be your level 2. So stick around for that and we will see you next time. There are multiple ways for you to access this workshop. You can watch it in our private Facebook group. You can watch it on my YouTube channel. You may also watch it from my website. However, the only way for you to take part in the Q&A time, which we're going to have 2 live videos with me talking and answering questions, that's going to happen inside the Facebook group that has been created just for this workshop. So if you're not in that group, you may want to go over and request to join, and then you can ask me all the questions that you may have about all the things that we've been talking about in this workshop.